Good Monday evening, afternoon, depending upon where you are in the city. Welcome to From the Halls of Justice. And we have with us today two spectacular guests. You are really going to enjoy this. We have the Superior Courts being represented and the City Council, a retired City Councilman. It's very, very special. My co-host is the wonderful Alexandra Rachel Lavinsky. She is a super lawyer. People love her, and I am just honored to have her with me to help me interview the Superior Courts and From the Halls of Justice with these two fine men. We have with us the Honorable David Samuel Cunningham III, Sir Meyer. And I
can feel my dad getting upset.
The
middle name is really important because it's also my nephew is named Sir Meyer. It's my grandfather's actual first name and original name. So for some reason he wasn't crazy about Sir Meyer because people always mispronounced it. So he added David, but technically Sir Meyer is supposed to be our first name. So that's why it's the pronunciation's critical.
Oh, thank you for telling me that, because I was sweating bullets. I didn't know. And actually, this is David Cunningham, and he is a retired councilman and
Los Angeles City Council.
Angeles City Councilman.
Yes.
You know what? And I have to say this. We were talking before the cameras came on, and actually, the only thing that happens more to me when people meet me and they're impressed that I actually know Judge Cunningham III, and right after they say, "Oh my God, he's a wonderful man. He's so awesome." Do you know his dad? His dad is wonderful. And so that's why this is so special to me. I have never had two more beautiful, powerful, well-respected men to sit on a stage with me than I have tonight. And thank you so much for being here.
That's a tall order.
It certainly is.
Well, you're great men. So, Alexandra, you know, I really think that people, when I talk about you, I have met people that just swear by this woman, and she's the most wonderful person who's ever come into their life. And so I had to have you with me by my side. And so we have the Superior Courts, we have the City Councilman, and we have a fabulous attorney. And you've won awards. Your clients love you. And if you'd be so kind, just tell me a little bit about your background in law.
Sure. Right now, I focus on family law, but my background is civil litigation. I practiced civil litigation from 2003 to 2007, and now I have practiced family law since 2007. However, my litigation gives me has given me a wonderful experience and enabled me to grow my litigation skills, which make me a good, formidable defense attorney.
Yes, you are. With that being said, have you ever been in front of Judge Cunningham before?
I have been in front of Judge Cunningham before, and
I did okay with you.
you did. And Judge Cunningham's a wonderful bench officer, and we miss him very much in family law. It was a real loss because Judge Cunningham knows his cases, he reads his cases, he appreciates the litigants, and most importantly, he has a heart for the litigants. And that made him extremely careful about his cases. And in fact, from the first family law dinner,
remember all of that?
I absolutely remember, because it's very important to me when I see a judge who really cares about his bench and his cases the way that you do.
Amen. I would like to know more about retired Councilman Cunningham. Tell me a little bit about your story, your background.
Well, my background is rather extensive, and I'm not sure you want to hear all of that. I am the father of 6 children.
Wow.
3 boys and 3 girls.
Mm-hmm.
And I am so proud of all of them. I'm proud of the fact that my oldest son, who we practically grew up together because I was a teenager when he came up. But I spent some time in the Air Force. Got out, was stationed at March Air Force Base, and I went to the University of California at Riverside. And I was overwhelmed by the fact that you could go to school, to a university like that, for $75 a semester. So I went there. I had 2 years left, and I got my degree. And from there, I came to Los Angeles on a fellowship, the Coral Foundation internship in public affairs, and that catapulted me into the political and civic life of the city of Los Angeles, and that's where Tom Bradley and I first got to know each other. That's where I went to work for Warren, Assemblyman Charlie Warren, who got elected, and then subsequently I met Gus Hawkins, and then after finishing Coral, I got interrupted, and I went overseas and worked in West Africa, represented a company, Duquesne Corporation, selling language labs of all things, and installing them, which I learned how to be careful with electricity. And came back and went to work for Hughes Aircraft Company, and then I started my own firm with a couple of other partners. And we were in the consulting business, the headhunter business to start with, and then we eventually went into directions in terms of black business and the development of black business owners. And in 1973, Tom Bradley asked me to run to replace him, and it was interesting because there was something like 46 other candidates in the race, and so, I mean, that's a tough thing, and I finally won it, and spent a few years on the city council. And having been a businessman, I did not plan to spend all the rest of my life in elected life, and so I left the public arena. Well, I left the city council in 1986, and went back into private industry and worked in an investment banking firm, then came out and started my own consulting firm again. And since then, I've been doing that for almost 30 years now. And as well as I have started other ventures, I have a charter school that I've started. And I just, and I'm still involved in the community. I've served between Riverside and Los Angeles in both communities because I happen to love the University of California at Riverside, and I have served as president of the Alumni Association, so it's in my heart. And then my middle son went to UC Riverside and played on the basketball team, and he did very well, and he's had a great future too. So that's about it, and I've been overjoyed watching this young man as he's done what he's had to do, and you know, his resume is much more impressive than mine. I can tell you. We're
impressed right now.
No,
I'm like just blown away. No wonder that's why you are the way you are. You are just.
Yeah, but he is Ruth Tilden Scholar, NYU Law School.
But I tell you, you can imagine.
Phi Beta Kappa USC. I mean, come on.
All right.
This guy is.
But I have to tell you, you should meet the other 5 siblings because you can appreciate at our family how difficult it was to get a word in edgewise. We were all very aggressive about our opinions, and also very well read. So when you get an argument from a Cunningham, you're getting a thorough, engineered argument. And I tell
well read and well spoken.
And
I'm
passionate about their
and
positions.
I like it. I was going to say, I'm feeling it. I could sit here and just listen to him, you know? This is wonderful. No wonder your courtroom is so awesome. This is where you get it from.
Well, my mother might have something to say about that.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, they were two very aggressive people. I've been very fortunate in terms of my DNA pool. My dad's been an extraordinary role model and a very determined person that taught me both discipline and community commitment and obligation, and plus he's fun.
Yeah, but see, I got that from my father.
Okay.
The fun part? Or?
Well, the discipline. My father was a Christian Methodist minister, and he served very much in the NAACP. He was president of the Memphis NAACP that brought Martin Luther King to Memphis for the garbage strike.
Wow.
Awesome.
My father was always my idol and my hero. So
Awesome.
I tried to pass it on to my son.
Well, it's so funny because I'd heard for many years the family folklore about my grandfather bringing Martin Luther King to Memphis during the garbage workers strike. And then I was channel surfing one day about 3 or 4 years ago, and it was on the audience channel, and it was a wide-angle view of the mountaintop speech the night before Martin Luther King was assassinated. And from the wide-angle view, who do I see up at the podium but my grandfather?
Oh my God.
He was seated right up there. And I'd already heard that, but I'd never seen the evidence of it, and I saw it on this TV show. And so I watched it, and apparently the show is at the Smithsonian now. They're from Smithsonian tapes. And he was also interviewed. So he was such a modest man that he never really talked about it, and then he passed. So once he had passed away, then it became family folklore. So I said, well, everybody says, the family's wonderful. I'm sure Granddad did a lot, but was he right up there at the stage? I never saw any evidence of it. And then there it was. But then also, they had the tapes of when he was interviewed before Martin Luther King came there, after he was assassinated, during the riots, and his role at trying to calm down the city. So it's pretty extraordinary. So you sort of look at our family involved in civil rights and also in the diversity movement, and you see that it's a long generation of family involvement. So I get it naturally.
You do. I'm so impressed. There is so much power and energy here. It really is. And what really gets to me is that between the two Cunninghams here, and I'm sure the rest of your family, you are both really so humble.
We're fun, though.
You are fun. You are definitely fun.
I want to make that clear. We are fun, too.
One of the things I noticed, now Judge Cunningham has been gracious enough to be with me on another talk show that I produced, and I was talking, and I looked at the photograph that he had, and while I was looking at the photograph, I looked at the photograph again, and it was Judge Cunningham, and that guy. Oh yeah, Obama, President Obama. And I'm like, do you know?
Our dear president.
Yes. And
I greatly respect.
Floored. I was floored, and he had never said a word. Never said. I had never met anyone like this before. That was so humble. But you're so passionate about life and about people and about community, and I love that. Just to mention.
One of the things my dad used to always do is repeat that poem, if you can walk with kings and all that.
Ralph
retain
Waldo
it.
Emerson.
Yes. Then you are
And
a
keep
man,
the
my
common
son.
touch.
Right.
Walk with kings, but
And
keep it common.
That has
touch.
been very important in my life, and I've tried to pass it to the rest of my children. The other funny side of I have three younger children who were born. One was born while I was on the city council. Two were born while I was on the city council, and then the third one was born afterwards. Well, they never knew me as a member of the city council. So people, when they were like 6, 7, 8 years old, they would say, "Why are people calling you councilman?" So I finally took it upon myself to sit down and explain to them. I don't think it meant very much to them until Dave Third had an opportunity to explain to them what a councilman was and what he was supposed to be. And then, of course, with his ascendancy and his intellectualism and what he's done, they begin to understand much better what it's all about.
You know what? Judge Cunningham has done so much, and he has.
Well, our family. I'm working like everyone else, and I have a commitment to public like many other people do, and I believe in fairness and justice, and I'm willing to put myself on the line to make sure that it happens. But that's not something that's new to be a Cunningham or even being David Cunningham. You know, my grandfather started that,
Right.
Oh,
and
my
I'm sure
gosh.
that probably. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have the good fortune of my great grandparents, but it has been a family tradition that community service, public service,
Public service.
is an indispensable part of our family background, and also being involved in the church. My grandfather was a minister and a pastor, so the notion that you have to have a point of view, you have to have integrity,
Right.
and you have to have commitment.
Yeah.
And if
You
you're
have
going to believe in
loyalty.
something,
You have to have loyalty.
you have to have loyalty. And what, did I forget something?
No, you're doing all right, Your Honor. I have to be
I was
careful.
going to say, how often do you sit in his courtroom and tell him after his day what he's done wrong?
Ooh, what? Oh,
How often?
attorney, I cannot. I have to be careful. He is a judge.
Yes, he has the power of contempt.
Yes, I understand that, and there are times when he makes it very clear. You know, and so
Let me just make this clear.
yeah, see, there he goes. There he goes.
Councilman Cunningham is nobody's pushover. You can ask anybody that.
But he's a good judge.
Yes, he is.
He lets me know that now, you know, you can argue legislatively, but I know the judicial rendering. You know, so I back off.
We'll interpret.
Sometimes.
We got it. You can legislate, we interpret.
What I do, you interpret.
Since we have you here, we're going to get some community direction on the probate area.
Okay.
What do you think? So, I was going to say, and no, it's just marvelous. When I met you, you were in family law.
Correct.
And I love family law. It's my passion.
Oh.
And my mother is a minister, so she'd love to hear you speak. So I am in love with integrity and ethics and someone who cares about people, and I'm drawn to people who care about people.
Best speaker in our family right now is my brother, who is a retired bishop in
Oh, my
Cedar Church.
God.
Yeah, so he cannot orate us.
Oh my God! Oh, we have to talk. This is
I'm
wonderful.
not kidding. You sit down at that dinner table, you got to be able to speak
Yeah,
up.
you got
because
it's tough.
You'll get spoken over quickly.
But you're fun. You are fun. But it's true love. It's true love, the agape kind of love. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what it is.
Thank you for that.
That's a wonderful word, because
Agape,
agape.
yeah.
Tell them what agape means.
I know what agape.
Tell,
my dad
I
told
said,
me.
tell us, our audience,
Oh yeah.
what agape, because
Yeah,
it's a Greek
it is,
word that
yeah.
means what?
No, you go. No.
Well, agape is the Greeks have three words for love.
Right. There are
And-
three kinds of love.
Right.
There is the sweetheart love.
Erotic love,
Okay.
like for
I call it
Cupid.
sweetheart, but I'm sorry. Your Honor.
See, this is why I didn't talk.
Well, that's what Martin Luther King. I mean, that was the word he used.
Yeah,
erotic.
but I'm not arguing it. I just said sweetheart love. You know. Okay.
Yeah.
But you say erotic. That's gay. There is the familiar love. It's
Philios,
family. Okay. I'm
friendship.
All right, Your Honor.
Wow.
And then agape is the care and concern for love for other people and for the community and those around you. That's
Yes.
what agape is.
And it is the greatest form of love,
It is.
because it's built not just on the personal benefit that you get from an erotic relationship or the friendship that you get
Right.
from an affiliation or friendship. It's a redemptive love, and that was the kind of love that Martin Luther King talked about, that was the driving force behind the civil rights movement, is that you rise to the level of leadership when you have the ability to care for others beyond what you get, to what you can do for others. And that redeems them. It redeems you, and it redeems the people that you do good for. And that's what makes it the highest form of love. And it's the type of love we need to practice more of, quite frankly.
And that's agape.
That's agape.
That's a copy. I knew I would get a better definition than if I tried to explain it. I was just going for it's when you love somebody better than you love yourself kind
Right.
of thing. But I knew he'd run right over that. So, thank you. So,
It's the love of God operating in the hearts of humans.
I like that.
That's what it is.
Thank you.
So switching gears a little bit, back to
Yes,
what The audience may want to know about what kind of cases find themselves in your department downtown.
Great question, because probate is sort of the next level to family law. We call it family law light. We deal with trust, which many people who have assets, and now we have blended families, so the idea of having a trust is helpful because then it's clear how things are to be handled at that unfortunate moment of when people pass.
Is a blended family a nuclear family?
Blended family can be whatever you want to call it, meaning that
okay.
you have serial marriages.
I just want to make certain that
serial
the audience,
marriages,
there is an audience that may not be familiar with blended marriage. Okay.
Most people know what blended family is. It's serial marriage, where you marry more than once, but not at the same time, so you don't get into trouble with
It's a different department.
But then also, and then we deal with wills, and when people die intestate, which means they die without a will, so it's left for the state to say who gets your assets. And then we have guardianships, which is similar to some of the things that we discussed earlier with Judge Diaz, where you're dealing with now circumstances where children need the courts to come in to protect them. And I tell you, that has happened. We've had a flood of cases from the children who are coming from south of the border. And we deal with those issues as well.
Wow.
And those are tough. And then we have conservatorships, where end-of-life issues where people either have Alzheimer's or dementia. So you're dealing with the whole spectrum now in trust in the states on what happens when either people pass or when family lives fall apart or when people lose the ability to take care of themselves or they lose their competence, so to speak. So it's tough. And it's huge. Our workload is extraordinary. Our workload right now, on average, I have some days between 70 to 80 matters per day.
Per day?
And they are complicated matters. And unfortunately, we have a lot of staff. But still, it means that you, the individual, you come to court, you're going to get a very short amount of time before a judge. And I hate that because you're almost having to push people to get to the bottom line. And sometimes people need time to develop the story, and we just don't have it. And part of it is we need more judges. We need more financial support for the judicial system.
Now, I know the day I had the opportunity to sit in probate court, it wasn't your day in the courtroom, but I was amazed. It was like 5 minutes each case that was being heard. Now, there were two that maybe lasted a little bit longer than that, but they would come up and be heard. It was fast.
And this is not like tickets. You're not walking in where it's the same fact pattern and it's just one slip of paper or somebody ran a light or they didn't wear their seatbelt or anything like that.
Oh yeah. Does that happen?
Okay.
But no, it's where you've got trust, documents that are very detailed, you've got wills, and you realize here in Southern California, we have some very wealthy people. It is not unusual to have estates that exceed $20 to $50 million. It's just not that unusual in this county.
Wow.
The good news is you've got a lot of very wealthy people, and the result is that we have to parcel out their problems. And then it's not just wealthy people who need the court system, but it's everyone. When I talk about guardianship, when I talk about conservatorship, and that's the need to be able to give people their day in court, and it's becoming harder and harder because the resources you've got to put finances and money and appropriations into the court system if you want people to have the time to have their cases heard effectively. And right now, when the choice is schools and hospitals and courts, guess who gets the short shrift?
Hospitals.
No.
Schools.
Well, which would you pick? You've been an elected official. You would
I'd
probably
pick all three of them. I'd pick all three
Okay,
of them.
but if you had $1
If I had $1,
and each of them needed the full $1,
each of them needed the
how
full
would
dollar.
you distribute that former elected official, that $1 to those
I'd
three
have
needy
to try to do
folks?
like Solomon.
Uh-oh.
Cut the dollar 3 ways.
But see, that's not even what happened. We didn't get 1/3.
But I said, you asked me how I would do
Okay,
it.
yeah.
I would have to try to exercise the Solomonic fashion.
I'd vote for him.
We're not looking for any more votes.
But it's hard for people to recognize the importance of also having the court system there because you think, okay, schools and hospitals, but at the end of the day, we are making decisions that impact hospitals, impact schools,
Wow.
that impact people's living circumstances. So it really is intertwined in the school, education, hospital, healthcare issues. So you're right. It was a very wise choice to say B. King Solomon. They're equally important, I think, is the bottom line.
Well, you just convinced me. I'd probably give the court 40% and divide the 60% between the other.
We need to get you
the
there.
I'm sure as a judge in the probate court, you see just a lot of fighting and terrible things that happen after people pass away. Is there something that you recommend, or do you believe having a will is an important thing to avoid litigation?
Absolutely. I think you should put down in writing, as hard as it is, because even for me to have to do it for myself
Even a holographic
was
will?
tough. But just to let people know in writing and make it so that it's enforceable, which is probably why you need a lawyer, because it does get technical, what your wishes are. I mean, as much as we hate to, today's my birthday, I celebrate my birthday, but
Happy
one day it is going to be a death day.
Yeah.
I mean, so we all kind of, you don't want your loved ones to be stuck with, well, what did David really want to do and how are we going to do this? You want to be clear. It's kinder, gentler, and easier to the people who remain behind to know what you want and leave it in writing so it's not equivocal. But in terms of fights, the biggest fights are in family law, far and away. Most of the trust in the state fights usually are between siblings, and usually once the money gets distributed, they go away. And the argument you often get is, Mom or Dad loved me best. And usually the parents loved all their children equally. But, you just have different levels of attention from different children.
Absolutely.
Don't you have the same fights in family court?
No, because in family law, it's husband and wife. Or people who
I mean,
slept
two
together.
people who are, two people.
It's a lot more passionate. The fights are a lot more passionate when you sleep together than when you just
And
relate.
one of them's still alive.
Yes.
At least in probate, one of them's no longer alive.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot easier when one of them are no longer alive. And siblings, their fights are not as passionate as the fights between former loved ones. I think that's the difference, which makes it different. I mean, to be honest with you, I think probate's a little easier for me because the emotion that I saw in family law is not as bad. When it's siblings fighting, they eventually calm down and go away. But the emotion in the family law between, I was going to say man and woman, but now it's people who have been getting together, is strong.
So erotic love is much more intense in terms of the kinds of
Unquestionably. I think you know the answer to that with 6 children.
excuse me. I kind of
Now
forgot
We
about
are a
that
fun family.
is lovely. And on that happy note, I think we'll have to come back and talk about probate and, Councilman.
Yes.
You are wise. You are a wise man. And I want to thank you so much for being here on Judge Cunningham's birthday. We have to wrap it up. You know what? This has been a fabulous show. And I want to thank Alexandra Lavinsky for being here.
Thank you, Wanda.
And it's wonderful. Alexandra, she gives free consultations. They're no charge, and
marvelous.
because she cares about people. So I thank you for being here. I thank you for your expertise. I don't know what I would have done without you. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you, Wanda. This was a surprise for me.
Oh, you are awesome. I hope you come back again and visit us. We'll be here next week on From the Halls of Justice, and tune in. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was